In the shadowed heart of the Hollow Spine Mountains, something ancient stirred. Villagers in nearby outposts whispered of a black wind that roared down from the peaks, stripping bark from trees and snuffing out lanterns with a thought. It wasn't wind at all, it was him, Darwin. Once sealed beneath volcanic rock by forgotten gods, Darwin had awakened. Scales darker than the void shimmered with molten veins of red. His eyes were twin furnaces, ever burning with malice. He had not returned for revenge. He had returned for conquest. But the world had changed. Magic had fractured, time had twisted. Kingdoms built in his absence now stood with steel towers and arcane cannons. Darwin did not fear them. With his shadow strike, he moved unseen between seconds, a blur of claws and flame. His breath melted iron. His wings tore through reality like parchment. Word of his return spread like wildfire, not in days but in hours. Empires turned their eyes to the Hollow Spines, terrified. And among those who watched from the shadows, one being made a decision. Knights of Blood. Half reptile, half myth, Knights of Blood was a time-bender, a prodigy of battle with a gift for slipping between moments. Their tail glowed with chronomantic sparks, and their weapon, a blade made of starfire, could only be wielded by one born in paradox. But fear clung to Knights of Blood, not of death, not of pain, but of fire. And Darwin was fire incarnate. The first clash did not happen in daylight. It came beneath a storm, in a rift where time bent like glass under pressure. Darwin emerged from a volcano's throat, his obsidian wings spread wide, each beat warping the air. Lava hissed from his claws, and the mountains bowed to his return. Below at the mouth of the rift stood Knights of Blood, a silhouette against the storm, tail crackling with raw time energy. The world slowed. Knights of Blood blinked forward in bursts, weaving between falling raindrops like they were frozen sparks. Their blade danced in elegant arcs, aiming for Darwin's soft spots. But Darwin was no mindless beast. His mastermind intelligence saw through patterns, deciphered tactics mid-battle. Every dodge, every strike, anticipated. He spoke, a voice like thunder breaking open the sky. "You bend time, I bend the world." And with that, Darwin struck with Shadow Strike. In a blink he was gone, and behind his enemy. Claws slashed through temporal echoes, forcing Knights of Blood back. The reptilian warrior gritted their teeth, pushing against fear. Fire licked the edges of the arena. Heat pressed in. It was not just a fight, it was a war between moments. But something deeper rumbled beneath the fight. Darwin's glass armor shimmered with unnatural beauty. Invincible though he was, it was brittle. One true strike at the wrong moment, and it would all shatter. Knights of Blood saw it, but time was running out. Their breath came fast. Their mind, usually so sharp, clouded at the scent of smoke. And Darwin smiled. The battle raged through shattered timelines. Each movement twisted reality. Sands of time whipped across the sky, slowing and speeding the clash between dragon and reptile. Darwin's wings flared with arcs of shadow, each flap distorting gravity. His tail crashed through ancient ruins, reappearing midair, time-warped fragments of lost empires. Knights of Blood, sweating and strained, flickered through microseconds like a ghost. Their eyes locked onto the glint in Darwin's side, the faint shimmer of his glass armor, barely visible under the black scales. That was the weakness. That was hope. But Darwin knew. He always knew. His mastermind brain spun strategies faster than any blade could strike. Each dodge from the reptilian fighter was answered with cruel precision. He let them get close, too close, until the heat of his fire singed even their slowed perception. "You smell it, don't you?" Darwin rumbled, voice laced with malice. "Your fear, your fire-born end." Knights of Blood pushed harder, unleashing a tail whip that cracked the air like thunder. Darwin staggered, glass chinked. For a heartbeat, victory tasted real. But it wasn't. In a blaze of shadow strike, Darwin vanished. The next instant, his claws buried into the ground, erupting a ring of obsidian flames that encircled the battlefield. Now there was no escape. "You bend time," Darwin hissed, "but I rule fear." Knights of Blood faltered. A flicker of flame passed too close. Their worst weakness, the one thing they couldn't overcome, fear of fire. They froze. Darwin lunged. The flames coiled higher, casting monstrous shadows across the fractured landscape. Darwin's obsidian-scaled body moved like a predator who had already tasted victory. His wings folded behind him. No need to fly, no need to chase. Knights of Blood stood trembling, their tail twitching involuntarily. The heat wasn't what stopped them. It was the memory of it, of fire, of being burned, broken, undone. "Run!" Darwin growled, smoke curling from his nostrils. "Or beg." But there was no running. The shadow ring Darwin had formed was alive, feeding off the fear in the air. Every escape route led back to him. Every moment they delayed, their time-bending slowed, consumed by their own terror. In a final effort, Knights of Blood drew all their energy into one move. The air fractured, time bent violently. They charged, tails spinning in a blinding arc, hoping to shatter Darwin's glass core. But Darwin was no fool. He shifted, barely, enough. The attack glanced off his flank, fracturing part of the shimmering armor. A sliver fell. Knights of Blood's eyes lit with hope. Then, roar. Darwin unleashed Shadow Strike, apex form. Time around him collapsed inward, pulled like threads into a needlepoint at his claw. The world stilled. For a fraction of existence, he stood at the center of all possible futures, and chose one. His claw struck once. The firestorm exploded. When the smoke cleared, Knights of Blood was down. Not dead, not broken, but defeated, curled, gasping, blinded by light and fear. Darwin stepped over them, his voice cold and final. "Your time ends here." And with that, the victor rose. Darwin, the obsidian flame, dragon of shadows, slayer of time.